The sun is setting. It's getting dark. The shadows are getting long, and it's time for 7 very scary horror stories. Let's do this one. I was watching my puppy the other day when he was chewing on one of his toys. He had a squeaky toy in his mouth, and he was shaking it like he was trying to kill it. It made me think of a story that happened to me a while ago. It was late at night and I was alone in my apartment. I was watching TV when I heard what sounded like screams in the night. At first, I thought it was just some kids being stupid, running around the neighborhood, yelling, screaming. But then the noise started coming closer and closer to my apartment. And I mean really close. And then I heard a knock on my door. Now, I don't know why, but I didn't want to answer the door. So I looked through the peephole and I saw the silhouette of a man standing in the hallway. I opened the door a crack and yelled, "What do you want?" The man outside the door didn't say anything. He was just standing there, staring at me. I could see his eyes through the peephole, and they were black, soulless eyes. I slammed the door shut and turned off the lights in my apartment. I didn't want him to see me. I didn't want him to know that I was home alone. I heard scratching at my door, and then I heard my dog start barking like crazy. I don't know if the man outside the door was trying to break down my door, but I can tell you this, he was persistent. He kept scratching and knocking until I finally answered the door. When I opened the door, he was gone. I looked down and I saw a bloody meat cleaver lying on the floor. I screamed and dropped to my knees. I don't know how long I stayed there, but eventually I got up and went back inside my apartment. That's when I saw my dog chewing on a squeaky toy. It was a toy that looked exactly like the man's face. I threw it across the room, and it landed near the bloody meat cleaver. To this day, I still don't know what that man wanted, but sometimes, when I'm alone in the dark, I hear scratching at my door, and I hear my dog barking like crazy, and when I look down, I see a bloody meat cleaver lying on the floor. No. 2. The sound in the walls. It was a cold winter night, and I was sitting in my room writing some music when I heard a sound. It was a sound that seemed to be coming from inside the walls. I tried to ignore it, but the sound just got louder and louder. Then I realized it was a tapping sound. Someone, or something, was tapping on the wall. I got up and went to investigate. I walked around the room listening closely, and the tapping followed me. It sounded like it was coming from behind the bookshelf. I pushed the bookshelf away from the wall and the tapping stopped. I looked behind the bookshelf, and I saw a small hole in the wall. The hole was just big enough for a person to squeeze through. I don't know who was making the tapping sound, but I do know this. Whatever it was trying to get out. Number 3. The hitchhiker. I was driving home from a long trip when I saw a hitchhiker on the side of the road. It was late at night, and I didn't want to pick her up, but something told me to keep driving. I passed by several gas stations and convenience stores, but I kept driving. Finally, I pulled over and picked her up. She got in my car, and I asked her where she wanted to go. She said she didn't know. She just wanted to get away from the city. We drove in silence for a while, and then she started talking to me. She told me her name was Mary, and that she had been through a lot in her life. She said she had been abused as a child, and that she had tried to take her own life several times. We finally stopped at a secluded gas station, and when things took a turn for the worst. Mary got out of my car and started walking into the gas station. I called after her, but she didn't listen. She just kept walking. That's when I saw the blood coming out of her mouth. It wasn't blood, it was engine oil. I got out of my car and tried to stop her, but she just kept walking. I called after her, but she didn't listen. She just kept walking until she disappeared inside the gas station. I never saw her again. Number 4. The vanishing hitchhiker. I was driving home from a camping trip when I saw a hitchhiker on the side of the road. It was late at night, and I didn't want to pick him up. But I felt sorry for him, and I was almost home anyway, so I pulled over and asked him where he wanted to go. He got in my car, and I asked him if he wanted to listen to some music. He said yes. And that's when I made the mistake of turning on the radio. The DJ on the radio said, "Beware of the hitchhikers. They're not what they seem." I laughed, and I told the hitchhiker that the DJ was just messing with us. The hitchhiker didn't say anything. He just kept staring at me. I finally dropped him off at his destination, and when I turned around, he was gone. Number 5. The doll. My daughter brought home a doll from a yard sale. The doll was old and creepy, but my daughter loved it. She named the doll Clara, and she took her everywhere with her. One day I found the doll sitting on the floor staring directly at me. The doll's eyes were black and soulless. I tried to tell my daughter we couldn't have the doll in the house, but she wouldn't listen. She said she was going to take Clara to bed with her. That night I heard scratching in the attic. I told my daughter I was going to check it out, and when I saw the doll sitting on the floor, its eyes were glowing red. I screamed and ran back to my daughter's room. The doll was gone. I haven't seen it since. 6. The tunnel. I was hiking with my friends when we came across a tunnel. The tunnel was dark and creepy, but we had to go through it if we were gone. Make it to the other side of the mountain. As we were walking through the tunnel, we heard what sounded like screams in the darkness. We tried to ignore it, but the screams kept getting louder and louder. Then we saw them. There were figures standing in the darkness, and they seemed to be watching us. We started running, but it didn't help. The figures were fast, and they were relentless. We finally made it out of the tunnel, and when we turned around, we saw the figures standing at the entrance. They were smiling, and it was then we realized they weren't human. They were demons. 7. The asylum. I was driving home from a long trip when I saw a sign that said road closed. I didn't want to turn around and drive all the way back, so I decided to take the detour. That's when I saw it. It was an abandoned asylum, and it looked like something straight out of a nightmare. I couldn't help myself. I had to go inside. As I was walking through the halls, I saw what looked like a figure in the distance. I called out and asked if anyone was there. No one answered. I got closer and I saw that it was a wheelchair, and in the wheelchair was a bloodied meat cleaver. I screamed and ran. I didn't want to stay there any longer. As I was running through the halls, I heard footsteps behind me. I didn't dare look back. I just kept running until I found the exit. When I finally got home, I looked at my phone and I realized I had been gone for hours. I don't know what was in that asylum, but I do know this. Whatever it was, it wanted me dead.